over the shooting death of a man in Oklahoma whose SUV had broken down in the middle of the road in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Police say a female officer shot and killed Terence Crutcher last week. The 40-year-old had his hands in the air as he walked back to his SUV. Video from an officer's dash cam and chopper video show Crutcher did pull down his hands and appeared to reach for the door handle. Moments later, he was shot and he later died. Police confirm Crutcher did not have a gun on him, nor did he have one in his vehicle. His family says Crutcher was a father, that he sang in church every week, and that he was enrolled in college. The chief says they will get to the bottom of what happened.
I want to assure our community, and I want to assure all of you and people across the nation who are going to be looking at this, we will achieve justice, period. It's hard to say, hey, just trust me, but I hope some of my performance in the past has shown you we will do the right thing. We will not cover anything up. That's not in our DNA, not in my staff.
Cheryl Dorsey is with me here. She's a retired sergeant with the Los Angeles Police Department, and we want to break down some of the video. It is tough to look at, and it's tough to see, both from the dash cam of the cruiser and then also from the chopper. Let's show how the scene started. Let's look at the video of how officers rolled up on the scene. One officer has a gun pointed at Crutcher. Crutcher's hands are raised. I think we can see this. Other officers are approaching. What do they know at this point? What have they been told by the dispatcher?
Well, I'm not really sure what dispatch told them, but I'm assuming that it was something about a stalled vehicle, and so that's not very threatening. Obviously, they don't know who's in that vehicle and what's going on with that person, so I'm assuming that they're giving him some commands. And understand, with everything that's going on, black people almost now have to start a traffic encounter with your hands in the air. So this gentleman is trying to make this officer comfortable with the interaction. And if they have some angst about him, if they aren't certain who he is, why run up on him? Officers are taught and trained to stay in a position of cover and concealment to make sure that you're safe. Give commands, have a dialogue with this gentleman from some distance away if you don't know what's going on, right?
Well, and that's the big question. If they don't know what's going on and there's a car stalled in the middle of the vehicle, in the middle of the road. Okay, let's look at a still. We have a still image we want to show you. It has the female officer pointing a gun at Terence Crutcher. At least two others do as well. And one is what looks like, we're told, is a taser. What's supposed to happen at a situation like this, quotation marks, to quote-unquote de-escalate? Is there an escalation there, first of all?
Absolutely. We are not trained, typically, to start an encounter with our guns drawn. And I understand that there was some radio traffic from an air unit that said this is a big, bad dude. Now, I don't know if it's because he's a black man and he looks like he's of significant stature that makes him a bad dude. But it looks to me like this officer came in, this female, she looks small. She came in already scared. Why do you have your gun drawn on a citizen who's disabled on the side of the road? That's inappropriate.
We've since learned from our reporter that one of the men in the chopper was the officer's husband, the female officer that is involved. Okay, let's look at you mentioned the chopper video. Let's look at that. From the chopper, you can see video of Crutcher walking with his hands up towards the car. Officers have weapons drawn, but then he drops his hands to open the door. And there are questions about why he would do that. But if he was not complying with officers' requests, what should happen? Our Steve Moore was here just a second. He says you can't shoot for non-compliance. That is not in the rule book.
Absolutely, and I don't hear the audio, so I don't know if they're giving him commands. They may have asked him for his ID, and we've seen what happened in South Carolina when a young man reached back into his car to get his driver's license. A state trooper shot him. Thankfully, the young man didn't die. And so, I mean, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. If an officer is giving you a directive and you're trying to follow that order, and maybe he's amped up too because he's excited about whatever's going on. We don't know him. He doesn't know us. But again, the onus is on the officer to make yourself safe. And if you don't feel comfortable, why are you approaching him? I would never walk up on someone who's going to a car after I've told you don't go to the car. I'm going to run back to my vehicle. I'm going to get behind my door, and I'm going to talk to you from there.
Okay, let's look at one final video, and sadly, this is after we see Crutcher on the ground in the distance. He has been shot. We can tell, it seems to appear that no officer, I think we've got the right video here. Anyway, the video that I'm wanting to show you is when he is on the ground and no officer gives aid. What is the protocol there?
Well, they should have been requesting an RA unit because there's an there's a man down, so they should have been requesting aid. They should have at least attempted to render some kind of assistance to this gentleman. I mean, we're taught when someone is shot to handcuff them right away to minimize the threat because we don't know what the threat is. And if they needed to do that, handcuff them, get on a radio, and then start requesting an RA unit and do what you can to preserve that life, right? If that's what you're there to do. But in this instance, it sounds like they're already trying to minimize and mitigate that bad behavior, because I understand that the young lady said she just received some kind of narcotics training, and in her mind, she thought she recognized the symptoms of PCP use, which I think is unconscionable for her to say.
This is an unsettling shooting to you, isn't it?
Absolutely. It should never have occurred. And what we see time and time again, Michaela, is that when officers do bad things, they try to minimize and mitigate that behavior, because understand, it's very difficult to argue with someone what's in their head. And so she's already crafted a story. I just had drug training, and I thought he was under the influence of PCP. And so she's trying to minimize that bad behavior. This is unconscionable, and she should be dealt with swiftly and decisively.
We know the chief has said that they will investigate it to the full extent. We will wait to see what happens. Cheryl Dorsey, very powerful statements from you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.